Kalispera. Sadly, it's the best I can do in Greek. I'm here today to show you a little bit about BitSight, how we're seeing the market, and how we can help companies see what their security gaps are, both in their own company and, very importantly, on their supply chain. So I'm going to give you, and bear with me, this is not those presentations, very beautiful, made by marketing people. This is just to pass a message. This is something, all of you, that if you are working related with security, you already know this, so you will have firewall and other devices to protect your assets, your IT assets, the data that you own from attackers. That this is what we call a frontal attack. What we've been seeing during the last years is the increase of third parties that have a connection to your networks, they have access to your data, or simply because they pose a large importance in terms of business, they will have that access, and a breach on one of these third parties or the access through a third party to your data is what we call a flanking attack. So what we do at BitSight is have a visibility into both areas. So you'll be able to look into security, see your gaps in terms of security, what's happening inside of your company, already there, already present, and where are you vulnerable, okay? And you can see the same in terms of your supply chain. So you'll be able to see from all of your third parties, your vendors, the companies that you trust to have IT and security services with you. It could be a company that you hire to manage your payrolls. They have integrations, so they can be breached, and this can harm you. So you'll have a visibility into that also. We probably have one of the biggest data in terms of data breaches. And what we found is from the last 8 years, 70% of the data breaches, the origin was through a third party and not a frontal attack. So this is very important to have that view. But on the other hand, what we're also seeing is 95% of the budget, resources, people are allocated to frontal security. So when you look at these numbers, they really don't make sense, because you will have a lot more risk and attack surface on your supply chain, but most of your investment is made by protecting your company. And of course, don't get me wrong, it's important to protect your assets. It's important to protect your company, but you need to take a look into your supply chain, because the numbers are there, and we've seen a lot of people today speaking of from Hydro to Marriott hotels to so many data breaches that we listen to every day in the news, and the cause is their third parties, their supply chain. Attackers will go for the weakest link, and this is what you need to know in terms of information from that supply chain. We've been present, so we pioneered this space, the security ratings, 8 years ago. These are just some numbers regarding BitSight. We have a large presence in Europe, also in Greece. And let me show you exactly how we collect this data. So we have 120 data sources that now are entering into the rating. We have a lot more, but we are very, very careful in terms of what data we put into the rating. So it needs to be actionable, so you need to be able to see it, take action, mitigate, and it needs to be trustworthy, so no false positives. That data, it stopped working. Oh, okay. We receive around 200 billion events every single day. So it's a lot of data that we receive. We have the world's largest sinkhole infrastructure. For some of you, you may be familiar with Anubis Networks. They are the company responsible for that sinkhole infrastructure. This company was a Portuguese company that was bought by BitSight 4 years ago. And because of that, we now have the largest sinkhole infrastructure in the world. So for those of you that are not familiar with this term, basically what this does is give us a capability to intercept communications coming from your infrastructure to a C2, to a command and control server. We are able to intercept that, and we are able to understand from which IP it's communicating. This will allow us to map your company. So all of the data that we have, we pick it up on the public space. So we don't need anything from your companies. We already have everything in place. So we have several processes automated, but the most important one is the hand curation process. So 62 data scientists on this team will understand relationships between your companies, if it's part of a group, what IPs you have, what domains you have, and then they will do a correlation with those 200 billion events and have the data to see those 22 risk vectors that you see over there. So these vectors, diligence, user behavior, compromised systems, and of course, if you had a public disclosed data breach, will be the part of that rating that we speak about. So rating, very simple to understand, 250 to 900. The lower the rating, the higher the risk. I would love to present you with the live demo. Unfortunately, it's not possible. So I'll just show you a few screenshots of the platform. And if you have interest in seeing a little bit more, we have our wonderful partner, Systecom, present here at Infocom. So you can meet us at their booth, and I'll gladly show you the platform in action. In terms of use cases, first party, or also your own organization, you'll be able to benchmark externally against your competitors, or internally if you have several subsidiaries, several operations, you can see how each one is doing. And of course, vendor risk management. So the ability to look into your third parties, your supply chain, and see what type of security gaps there are. So in terms of the portal, it's very simple to access. You will have portfolio where you will be able to see your supply chain, a risk matrix. So tier 1 will be the most critical third parties to you, the ones that have access to data and your network. Tier 2 normally are the third parties that or only have access to your infrastructure or only have access to data. And tier 3 will be all of the other third parties. That some of them you may only have there because of regulatory like GDPR and other regulations that are in place that oblige you to look into your supply chain and have a continuous monitoring over those companies. When you log into My Company is where you will be able to see what's going on your company. So again, very simple to understand. 530 is the rating for this company, Sapirix. It's not a good rating. So if this was one of your third parties, this is a reason to be worried. We will always provide the last 12 months of history. So you can see if a company is going down or up in terms of cybersecurity posture, and you'll have a benchmark against industry. So in this case, Sapirix is a technology company, so this will be the technology average. So as you see, very low. So it's below average. Another reason to be worried. And then you will be able to see all the vectors that we talk about. So normally here on the left side, this is something that is already coming out of the network of this company. So there's already a botnet infection that is communicating to a C2 that we picked up. File sharing activities or exposed credentials on the dark web. So something is already coming out, and a public disclosed data breach. So massive exfiltration in terms of data. On the right side is where normally the security teams work every single day to have everything in place. So open ports, correct configuration of SSL, TLS, if they're patching their systems correctly, the software also, if everything is in place, so you don't have problems here. And of course, for each one of the vectors, you can just click and see the details. So now we are going to be a little bit more technical. Going to see the events, all the events that this company had, the number of days, IP addresses, what type of infection. If you click here, it will give you remediation actions, what type of infection, what are the risks for this. And of course, you already know that a public IP address, you can have one machine, you can have 1,000 machines. So this is not enough. So what you'll go is into forensics, and then you'll have a lot more data. So here you'll see the infection, the public IP address, you'll have source port, destination port, timestamp, user agent, the detection mechanism that we use, in this case our SYNCALL infrastructure, and then server name and IP address of the command and control server. So this will allow you to take action, to see exactly what's the endpoint that was infected. You can have this integrated through an API or have the drill down with your firewall logs. You will have also remediation strategy in place. So you'll know that from all of the events that we're looking into, what are the ones you need to worry now and start acting on it, okay? This will be a risk matrix that you could click, you can go over all the details and see what you need to do. You'll be able also to use analyticals, business intelligence tools. So you can see how you are comparing with your peers, what are the areas that they're doing better than you, what are the trends, and you can then fill all of this into a forecast. So this is a tool that will allow you to present to an executive board what's going on in terms of cybersecurity, what you need to do, and what will be the way when you take actions. So this will be a forecast with taking into account these actions that will improve your rating, and you'll be up here, or if you do nothing, you'll be down here. And there are several studies made outside of BitSight that already made a correlation between BitSight rating and the probability to have a data breach. So as you saw probably on the previous slides, the vast majority of cyber insurance companies use our platform to determine the risk. And they did this because both Advisen, Air Worldwide, these are just two examples of risk modeling firms that will provide this data to insurance companies, made a study and understood that a company that has a rating of 500 is 5 times more likely to have a data breach than a company with a rating of 700. So right here you can prove to a board by taking some actions that you will decrease your risk by 5x. So this is very important. Then you have a list of all of the details you need to do, if it's being completed or not, everything in place. So there's some actions to follow through.